Now, welcome to another Let's Talk Some Bad Batch, where this time it is episodes 7 and 8 from Season 2. We have The Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences. We'll once again be reading and responding to some of the comments left over on the review on the other channel, so let us begin with your oh-so-brief review of these two episodes.
Oh, well, we finally got some of that Cody episode feeling back. Some of
Yeah.
that, look, the show can be intelligent, well-written, thoughtful, a little more edgy.
A little more.
Yeah, it brought back a lot of those vibes that, as an adult fan, I look for.
It brought back late-season Clone Wars vibes, I would say. All right, well, let's right away get to the comments, starting with the top-rated one, as usual.
Top comment comes from Derek Lopez. Palpatine's monologue at the end of the episode, wow. Just wow. The way he twisted the truth in his own way was unbelievable. He's always ahead of everyone. Ian McDiarmid's performance is so delightful.
Yeah, I was glad it was him.
Me too.
I mean, no disrespect to anybody else who's ever voiced him, which is a few people, but nah, Ian's the king.
Yeah.
Or the emperor.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm terrible.
Yeah, you are terrible. I won't argue with that. But no, that just keeps showing you the cunning, the guile, the intelligence of Palpatine, why he's the emperor.
Yeah.
He didn't just, I luck into power there. He was smart and calculating, and he seized it.
I love the absolute silence. Nobody is questioning him.
No.
And yet at the same time, he's still giving this illusion of democracy. I mean, earlier in the episode, or the first episode, whatever one it was, I think it was Bail Organa's like, where is the Emperor? Why isn't he here? Why doesn't he?
We haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, and he's like, Masameda is like, well, he trusts that you all can, deliver the democracy the Republic requires. Okay, so that's not what he said, but he's selling the fact that I don't need to be there because you guys are going to do the right thing. But when he shows up, it's like, this is the law. I love it.
And because he's so smart, everyone went along with it. I mean, how clever a plan. We'll throw Rampart under the bus and be like, well, the clones are, clearly there's a problem if they would just follow those horrible orders. But at the same time, your army should follow your orders?
Well, it's so funny because
so weird. Because we know as the audience.
Yeah, well, initially the clone army is sold on the fact that they follow any and all orders without question, right? That's like their selling point. Like, you're going to have this army, they're going to do whatever you want. And that's okay under the Jedi, apparently. Not so much under an Admiral Rampart.
Not when they're bombing innocent cities.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not what, obviously that's not what Palpatine said exactly, but there's that implication there. Like, that worked for the Jedi, but it doesn't work now. And now we can't have that type of army. We can't have a type of army that will just listen without question. And yet, that's exactly what we're going to want out of the Stormtroopers, too.
Right, that's what we're going to train them to do, is to just
don't
follow
worry
orders.
about that little detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they blew up Alderaan without a problem.
Yeah, not a second thought there.
No, funny. No, nobody thought about Alderaan.
What about Alderaan?
Would the clone have done that?
Yes.
Not the unconditioned ones.
Some of them would have. They all would have, let's be honest. And he's still serving the Empire at that point. We're opening fire without a second thought.
Well, they're becoming a problem because of the fact that their conditioning isn't staying, because they're actually breaking free.
Yes, which is what the Clone War showed us, which was fantastic, and it all makes sense. It's all brilliantly coming together.
Mm-hmm. Next comment from Bowen Horn. I love how Senator Chuchi and the Batch went through all this effort to prove Rampart's the villain, just so Palpatine could show up to play the hero and twist it to get exactly what he wanted. He's a master manipulator and a true snake. These episodes felt like the perfect intersection between the storytelling styles of the Clone Wars and Andor. And that's what we needed. This is the show that's going to lead us eventually
to Andor.
To
Yeah. This is building up to Andor. This is the show that shows us how bad it's going to get.
Right.
And how it gets that bad.
We should be seeing the galaxy go to a more hopeless place, a more controlled place, because that is the galaxy. We know that's where the galaxy has to go. They can't sugarcoat and be like, the Bad Batch did such a great job, and they saved the galaxy with a mega smiling face. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It can't.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about this show. It can't have like an overarching happy ending.
It can have a happy ending for the individual group.
Yeah.
Possibly,
probably. I
probably.
don't think it would be for all of them, but for some of them, certainly. You don't want it to be, well, I don't know. You could do a quote-unquote Rogue One ending where they sacrifice themselves for some type of down the road greater good.
Right, but like Omega will survive.
Well, there's no way she doesn't survive. And I'm telling you, she's going to be a Boba Fett-esque bounty hunter later on. You just watch.
She's going to be the senator for the clones. What are you talking about?
Oh my god. Oh, they set it up too, didn't they?
Yeah. What's funny is I can't remember if Admiral Rampart has ever seen Omega.
That's what I couldn't remember either.
I can't remember for the life of me if he's ever actually spotted or seen Omega.
You would think he would have heard and seen. I actually don't have a problem with that scene, even if he has kind of seen her or knows about her, because he doesn't care about the clones. Like that's Rampart to a T. He doesn't care. They are an expendable thing. Like whether or not they have names, whether or not there was a female clone, whether or not anything about them, he doesn't care. He completely overlooked it. So there's this part of me that actually hopes Rampart has seen her, because he probably could have been like, well, wait a minute. What in the world is she doing with, with Chuchi here?
Rest of the batch
is the batch around?
But it is an interesting fact. There's a lot of really small nuance in this episode that I really enjoyed.
Which puts it on par with Andor, like the comment said. Not on par. I don't know that it's like on par with Andor, but it's certainly playing in the same league.
Mm-hmm, it is. Also, what I found interesting is Slip said that he could not testify. He couldn't do it. He was too scared to, and then they're like, yeah, you can do it. But the batch, they're like, no, we can't do it. We're deserters. Well, Omega's not a deserter. She could testify.
Maybe, but nobody really knows who she is. Or
Well, and they were so concerned with getting Slip to testify, but he's technically kind of a deserter now, too.
Well, he wasn't, though. I mean, he still was reporting for duty.
I
don't know that he was. I mean, I think he was.
I think he'd been on the run since his friend was killed.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know that Slip would have made the perfect choice to testify at that point.
No. All right, let's move on to the next comment from Sand. Incredibly mature writing for an animated Disney Plus show. Pretty great.
Yeah, like we were saying before, kind of Andor levels of maturity here at certain points. I mean, we had somebody, a clone X, kind of off himself at the end of the episode. It's not something you normally see in a kid's show.
Mm-mm. It was just good when they pulled back and they looked at the bigger picture in the galaxy. Not just looking at treasure hunting or some small mission that the batch is going on, but pulling back just so we can see what is actually going on. How did they get away with blowing up Tapoka City? How did the Empire get away with everything? They just seem to always have a scapegoat.
Yeah. Well, it's so strange because this feels like a complete polar opposite to some of the other episodes. It's strange how this show can go from like, this is for adults, right? This is not, your average kid might like some of the action, and they'll get into the political intrigue to some extent. I'm not saying kids are stupid, and I think we underestimate the level kids can understand things at times, but it's generally not thought of as, political intrigue as a kid's thing, right?
Right.
And yet these episodes were just full of it. They're full of nuance, they're beautifully written, and it feels more like they were written for adults, and yet you'll have, the adventure of the week, let's go treasure hunting, which feel more for kids. It's such a strange contrast between the two.
All right, let's move on to our next comment from J Rebel 18. I kind of thought the hug between Echo and Omega was a little cute, and I wish they had done more of that before they separated. It still got some emotion out of me, but I feel like it would mean more if they had developed that relationship in the previous episodes more.
It got a lot of emotion out of me, but I think more because I love Echo.
Yeah,
then I was like
Echo, don't
sad
go.
for Omega. I wish these first 6 episodes had focused a little more. If you're going to set this up, there were subtle cues, I guess. Like the first episode you had, Echo and Hunter kind of button heads, and we should be doing more, and Hunter's like, no, we should be trying to hide. And see, I kind of thought that would just be a running theme throughout the season.
I thought the whole batch would eventually be like, okay, well, we're all going to be.
Yeah. Instead, they were setting up Echo's eventual leave.
Which is sad. I didn't want Echo to leave. He's my favorite clone. And now he's gone, which means...
Yeah, he'll be in more episodes, you know that.
I hope so, and they don't just kill him off screen and be like, I'm sorry.
Oh, they wouldn't dare do that at this point. People would be so angry. But no, I think a little bit more out of Echo and Omega to set that up would have worked better. Like I said, the scene works because you care about Echo leaving, not because you're sad for Omega.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Because there's just not much of a relationship that we've seen between the two characters.
No. I think of the batch, she was least attached to Echo. Maybe Tech? I don't know. But certainly Wrecker and Hunter have a pretty strong thing with her. It's those other two that have kind of been lacking.
That's why they had to get rid of one so that...
so we can build one. All right, now we can just do her and Tech instead of trying to do Tech and Echo. That was just too much for us.
Too much. Next comment is from Istari. Excellent episodes. I wish we'd gotten to this point earlier, but better late than never. The action, intrigue, and politics were so well done. Personally, I think Palpatine's coming out on top would have been even more crushing had his speech happened a few days later. Let our heroes enjoy their victory a bit before it's snatched from them, but that's a minor point. It also undoubtedly helped that Omega did not appear much, although she still managed to be irritating at times when she did. I really hope they keep this level of quality of the rest of the season.
Yeah, kind of funny how well the mission went when Omega wasn't around.
Walking in, walking out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, this is the efficient team I remember.
Exactly. Efficient. They just traded out Omega for Rex.
That is a quality trade.
It was a little jarring for me right away to see Rex in like street clothes.
Nah, I'm kind of getting used to like street cred Rex.
No, I like.
You like the full. You
like
like the
armor
uniform,
Rex.
the armored up Rex, yeah.
Yeah.
Sexy Rexy as you call him.
As he's called.
Yeah, yes, he's earned that name.
As for Palpatine snatching the victory, days later, I don't know if I would have liked that. I think he struck when he needed to. I think if he would have waited on that news and come out later, people would have been arguing and thinking more about the clones again.
Yeah,
Or clones might have taken that time to come forward and be like, I think we were brainwashed. Something's not right with us.
Yeah,
They needed to do it, boom, strike when the iron's hot, or else they might have lost it.
I think for the audience, it might have been more impactful to wait and let us think that the heroes had kind of won. But this kind of shows that Palpatine was just ready. He was ready to immediately, he knew this was going to happen. Well,
Plans within plans.
Quote unquote knew. I don't know if he had premonitions. I'm just saying he was planning for something like this to happen, and as soon as it did, he struck and he was ready.
Right.
So I can see both sides, but I think it, again, for the audience, maybe letting us believe this is not what I expected. They actually won, but instead it's Palpatine just immediately being like, no, you don't win.
Some people have a plan A, a plan B. He's so far down the alphabet, he's come out letters and numbers.
He's got a plan Cedius.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I tried.
No, it's just bad. Next, from Magnus TNT. I think that in last season's finale, we actually saw either Slip or Cade. The clone who gave Rampart the status report was noticeably shaken up, and we know that they were both on his Venator specifically during the bombarding.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, no reason why it shouldn't be.
I think it, at least in head canon, even if they're not going to make it factual canon, it works out better that way.
Yeah, I do too. Just to have a little connection so that we know that he was immediately... And it's kind of nice to know that the clones were, immediately kind of disturbed by that. That was a nice touch in that episode.
I think that's part of what started shaking them out of the good soldiers follow orders routine.
Yeah, can you imagine being, told to blow up the planet you come from?
Yeah, blow up your home.
Yeah, your home facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a nice touch, even if they don't officially make that canon. It's my head canon.
It'll come out in a source book or something.
Oh, of course it will.
Next comment from Josh K. This was deep, dark, and twisted. This is a true look into the machinations of evil. We saw some of the best execution of the squad skills without any major fails. To see the hopelessness even after a successful mission is chef's kiss storytelling.
Agreed. I love when Chuchi, if everything's going well, and then all of a sudden you see Chuchi just kind of hanging her head as she realizes... I don't know if she realizes they were played as much as she realizes it was all for naught. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird. I don't know how much people trust or don't trust Palpatine at this point. That's the one thing I'm curious about. It's
really hard to say.
Does Chuchi and Bail, are they already yeah,
I think
he's
Bail
a bad guy.
already...
I think Bail knows because he's, he would have talked to the Jedi, so...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so how much did the Jedi... I mean, that's an interesting question. How much did the Jedi tell him about Palpatine? Did they tell him he's the Sith Lord Sidious, or did they not?
Maybe
you would think they would.
At the very least, they told him he's not working with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a curious question. Because he had personal alone time with Obi-Wan and Yoda. He could have known the whole story. He knows Luke and all that. So, if he knows it's Palpatine is the Sith Lord, you would almost think he would be trying to spread that information more.
But that's dangerous information that could get him and his family killed.
Well, sure. And you also even see in this episode, he kind of uses Chuchi a little bit, I think. He's letting her kind of lead the charge. He does deliver the evidence to her at one point, but he doesn't want to step up. I think because he does know the truth. He does know how dangerous it is for him and his family.
Maybe he's using her. He wants to see how dangerous it is to stick out your neck.
Yeah, I guess so.
Who can say? Next comment, Sir Densington. Great content in the episode, but I loved the look of it. The smoke and steam, the back alleys, the lighting, the music, it all had strong Blade Runner feel to me. Best episode of the series so far, and required viewing for fans who want the lore. Great stuff. Let's hope it's not back to silly spelunking and pod racing next week. This comment goes along with Flatline. Really good episodes. Love that Kevin Kiner score, too. Haunts me every time. I get reminded of the end of the Clone Wars, and he riffs on it again and again in the last episode, too. The way that Palpatine twisted things to his advantage was just so hilariously evil. I loved it. I love it when the shows take him far more seriously than the stupid sequels did.
Well, no comment on that last part, but I agree. It was much more impactful to see him here than in the sequels, which is kind of sad.
Well, it's because we know right now he has control. In the sequels, he popped out of nowhere and was like, "Ha-ha,
Yeah,
I will take control."
Because I've returned somehow. But no, I think we've kind of gotten spoiled by just how good the animation and the music. Mm-hmm. It is fantastic. I mean, Kevin Kinder's score, I agree, there were callbacks to other scores that he's done for other episodes.
We got to go back to the Martez sisters hideout.
Oh, I know, and they weren't there, so that made it even better.
I wonder if Ahsoka is with Bail at this time.
You think Tales of the Jedi... I would think of course Tales of the Jedi had happened at this point, because that would happen right after the funeral he meets up with her.
Yes, but has he picked her off the farm yet?
Oh, I don't know. I forgot about that, because he goes...
I'm always curious when Bail starts talking if Ahsoka's already back with him or not.
It's hard to keep it straight, because I have both the book and now Tales of the Jedi in my head, and they kind of... There's a similar vibe to them, but they're different. So I'm trying to remember how they'll play out. But anyway, I don't think they would be together yet.
Hard to say. Probably not.
Probably not.
Let's go with probably not.
Yeah, probably not. The book would imply no, because the book, a lot more time had gone by. So if the Tales of the Jedi is trying to be at all in line with the book, then I would say no.
In line with the book.
But you know what I mean. If there's trying to be a similar timetable there.
Next comment is from Carlos Minetti. Glad the assassin was a clone. Totally thought it was going to be Ochi Bestoon. Looks similar in the Vader comics. Makes it more interesting like that.
I'm glad that didn't even go through my mind. Ochi's been a lot in the comics. He was also in Shadow of the Sith. Mm-hmm. He's the Sith assassin in The Rise of Skywalker, who you kind of see and who crashes his ship on Basana and all that fun stuff, and they don't really explain him either.
Well, I like it the first time you see the clone, you think, oh, it's a sharpshooter. Is it Crosshair?
That was my initial thought,
I think Rampart doesn't trust Crosshair enough anymore.
I think Crosshair... I don't know that Crosshair would do that. I mean...
Not to mention Crosshair's about to be decommissioned with the rest, so...
Yeah, I think after the Cody incident... Well, call it the Cody incident. After we see him with Cody, I think he's had a bit of a change of heart. I don't think he would pick off clone troopers like that anymore. No. I want to believe that. I want to believe he's changing, but who knows?
Well, that's why they had to get rid of Echo, so there was space in the team for him again.
Ooh, you think
it's a 5-man team, and you know, so you have to trade out one for the other.
When they brought
in Omega, they got rid of Crosshair. Now
that's a bad trade.
Now they got rid of Echo to bring Crosshair back in.
I like the Omega for Rex trade much better than that one. I'd never trade for Omega. I'm sorry. I don't hate the character or anything, but...
It just seems out of place in this...
Yes.
Wars and battling, and let's bring our 10-year-old with us or something.
Yeah, well, there was a comment that I didn't grab because it was kind of long, really long, but it was really good and kind of pointed out that she is like the childlike innocence of the team. That this is what they would kind of become if it wasn't for the war and the fact that they were built for the war, created for the war. So she's there to kind of remind us that, you know...
They're people?
They're people, and that in all reality, they're pretty young themselves. That if they hadn't been accelerated aging and made to be kick-ass soldiers, they'd be kids somewhere in the galaxy.
All right, it looks like we are up to our last comment from JetPlast190. These are arguably... the two best written episodes for the Bad Batch so far. They got deep into the political machinations of the Empire, the Senate to be specific, but mixed the political intrigue with a solid dose of action sprinkled throughout both episodes. Fitting that Admiral Rampart feels the sting of betrayal like he did to the clones and the Kaminoans. Under Palpatine's rule, everyone is a puppet.
Yeah, I mean, perfect episodes. The perfect blend.
Mm-hmm.
This is Star Wars perfectly. Because Star Wars has always had political intrigue. The original trilogy had less of it kind of up front in your face, but it's a war. Obviously, there's a rebellion fighting an empire. It's implied there are political stakes, right? Even if we don't necessarily get into them. So, this is Star Wars. This is perfect Star Wars, in my opinion. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, all blended together. It looks beautiful, sounds beautiful. What more could you want?
More episodes like this?
Exactly. And, well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that next week we're not back looking for a new treasure. But something tells me we'll have another treasure hunter too by the time this season is over. But something also tells me we're going to have some really good episodes coming up still. All right, well, I think that's all we got for you this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of these 2 episodes of The Bad Batch. So leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.